Welcome to the Sustainable Living Podcast. Tips, tools, and tactics for living a heart-centered life that honors Mother Earth and her inhabitants. The information shared on the Sustainable Living Podcast reflects the opinions of host Marianne West, Janice Fryatt, and their guests. Please use your own discretion and research before applying any information to your individual situation. Now, here are your hosts, Marianne and Janice.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone. I'm Janice Fryatt.
And I'm Marianne West.
Yeah, and we are the Sustainable Living Podcast, and we're very glad that you're here today to have to enjoy a little update. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a interaction with you all, kind of doing some shout outs for a lot of people that shared some great sustainable living tips over the week. But to begin with, how are you doing, Mariana? What's been going on with you?
You keep asking me those big questions. Well, one thing which is going on, and you probably can hear it in my voice a little bit, is I'm still having this cold. And, you know, it was a few weeks ago where I was just sick for a few days, and I still have congestion and all of that. And from what I'm hearing, I'm not the only one. It just seems to be this thing going around, and I'm trying, you know, I probably could do more, but right now I'm taking a lot of vitamin D. I'm doing like extra, well, this is for other reason, but I drink like lemon juice every day, but it still should have vitamin C in it. I'm trying to be out in the sun, which we have sun. Thank you very much.
Yay.
You know, and use essential oils. So I probably could do some more neti potting and steaming. I just have this aversion to the neti pot. Do you know what a neti pot is?
I do, and I've used it, and my daughter and son-in-law are big on using it. It's helped me a lot, so I would recommend it. But you know, it's funny that you're saying all that, and I want you to continue. But gosh, everybody's going through stuff right now too on that level. I know I have as well. So I just wonder how many other people out there are going through things. This last month, it's like I've been put through the ringer, you know?
It seems this whole winter season has been like that. And I was blaming it on having so many little people in my life who go to school and preschool and are bringing every germ possible, you know, and they're so generous, which snotty nose is going and then right in your face, giving you those wet kisses. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just got the germ bomb.
Yeah, I don't even have that excuse. I've got dogs here. I don't have children. I mean, I do have children, but they're long gone, living far away. But I have had, and I haven't had a cold, but what I have had is no energy. I mean, just it goes up and down. My energy goes up and down. Like 1 minute I've got a lot of energy, the next minute I'm wiped out, or I get a headache, or I'm fighting a headache. I've had a couple of migraines in this last month. It's just been insane. Oh, and also just down. Like there was a day this last month where I was just crying all day, and there's nothing bad going on in my life. I have no, you know. So yeah, I mean, one of the things I've been doing is trying to just really put the focus on as much yoga and meditation, of course, and I'm trying to get it back to a good handle on my diet. My diet has gone all over the crazy place, not in a good place, not as good as I want it to be. But the other thing that I'm doing is I started karaokeing again, and that was like my love for years. It got me through some really tough times. I had a friend down in the desert when I was living there, and we would go every week, and it was our thing. And just being among all these people that you start to get to know, and you're cheering them on and they're cheering you on, it just really makes you happy. It makes me happy anyway. So that's a big thing I'm starting to do again. I'm really excited about that.
Well, good. I mean, this is kind of right along the line of laughter yoga. We just released laughter yoga podcast, and it's very similar. You know, it's for one to find your tribe. Like you were saying, you're around this people and everybody is in a positive space and you're cheering each other on. And laughter yoga is a lot like that too. You laugh together, and that makes you feel better for so many different reasons. And singing, like laughter yoga and yoga works with your breath a lot. So you get more oxygen in your body. And, and yeah, I need to definitely do more yoga. I keep waking up every morning. Today I'm going to do a whole hour. And if I get 5 minutes in, I'm like so lucky. Not lucky. It's just me not setting the right priorities, I guess, or having too many going on. This is kind of the story of my life, having so much going on. And part of it is you're still kind of in the winter throes, and we have full sunshine. And this winter, we had a lot of rain, and I just realized that I really underwater a lot, because my plants were so happy, and we are trying to do all of those things of conserving water and not too much. And I think what I'm doing is I'm allowing my plants to survive, but not thrive, if that makes sense. And I'm really at this place where it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Either I put in what it takes to get the output, said, because I want to eat out of my yard. Yeah. And so I want things to produce to the maximum, right?
Yeah.
And so I need to, and I keep saying that I need to do the irrigation. How sometimes you have a project you have pushed away and in front of you for so long that it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it's like impossible to start.
Yeah, that's my gopher issue. We're going to be tackling that this year. So yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I definitely have gopher tips. So I think I'm going to write a post on that, because people have been asking well, here's another thing I wanted to throw out as a sustainability tip, since that's something we want to do today too, is we have a Buy Nothing Facebook group in Lemon Grove, and apparently there are groups like that all over. And if you don't have one in your area,
are you talking about like a place where you can go just to get free stuff from that people are trying to get rid of?
Yeah, pretty much. So what it is, it's like Buy Nothing groups, and apparently they want to keep them. It has to be local, so it's not all over the place. So for us, it's Lemon Grove, and if a group becomes big to a certain amount, I don't know, like 1,000 people, then they start a second group, and then you post what you want to gift, and it's not about bartering or actually you're not asking for anything back. It's just, I have this and I want to gift it. And it can be used items, it can be some new, it can be anything really. And then it's not a first come, first serve. It's like you're, as a giver, you can have your gift up for X amount of days and then just choose whoever you want to gift it to without any strings attached. And vice versa, if you need some, you can put out there, I need a rake. Does anybody have an extra rake? And again, it's when you give to that person, it's in the spirit of complete giving. And I find that nice,
Yeah. Is that on Facebook?
It's on Facebook.
Okay, yeah, we have something like that up here. It's called Big Bear Free Stuff.
Yeah, so that one is a particular organization which got it started, and I'm not sure if they're nonprofit or not, but
okay.
So anyway, and there's particular rules about this, about how to conduct the group and all of that. But anyways, the reason I'm saying this is in that group we ended up talking about gardening stuff, and gophers came up and slugs and all kinds of stuff, and I thought, oh, okay, this might be a good time to write some posts on it. And dear listeners, as you know, I keep saying I want to do things, and it doesn't always happen right away. But
we're going to hold your feet to the fire on this one. I know I am, because
feet to the fire. Yeah. Sure. Yeah,
for all of you that don't know, Mariana was actually up here. She came and visited a few weeks ago, and she got to see firsthand my gopher issues. And she had so many wonderful ideas. But I would love to have it all in a post that I can refer to and go back and forth on.
Yeah. So I think that's something we want to try, because I feel a lot of, the two of us are heavily involved in wanting to grow food. And it seems like a lot of the people, which are our listeners and, followers on the different social media channels are, somewhat interested at least in growing some food. And I think especially if you have a smallish garden and then something comes and eats it all. That's just very discouraging.
How about when you take your garden and you've done everything you can to critter proof it and they still get in? And it's amazing how resourceful these guys are. And oh, by the way, they got into my chicken feed too. They ate 2 full bags of chicken feed.
Who did?
The gophers.
Rats or
gopher?
Is it gophers?
Gopher. Because it got in. Okay, I didn't have it in a steel container like you told me to do. So number one, everybody, if you have your feed outside, have it in a steel container that they can't get into. I had it in a big kind of tub, plastic tub, and what they did was they burrowed or they dug a hole up underneath it, and then they chewed a hole into it, and then just chewed their way through the food. Yeah, 2 bags of food in just no time.
Gone. Yeah. So that could also be rats helping. And I have rats in my mind because we had National Geographic happening in my house today. So seriously, those animals are just too much. So this morning I had an interview with Mark Lefko, which I was very excited about, and it's probably going to be released maybe in a month or so. But he wrote a book about big companies doing sustainability practices and interviewed like 21 CEOs of like huge companies. And so he works on that level. And I find it very exciting when people, like we do a lot of what is your personal action, but really when companies change the whole focus, we can make such a difference in the world, Mm-hmm. But I'm mentioning that because I was in my office here, which if you see this on YouTube, then you see my little screen behind me. So I'm in my cubby hole doing my interview, and I'm hearing this noises on the door and scratching. And I'm like, what is this? So then when I'm done, I go out and I find chicken poop on the floor. And
whoa.
And my son is over, he's helping me with that project, which I come to in a second. And he's like, yes, Rooster was in. So the Rooster had come in to check out if this is a good place for his girls to hang out. And the reason he was able to come in is that we are building a new chicken coop. And we went to all different ideas of placing it and so forth. And one of the reasons I want to build one is a friend of mine, Soiree. She has Permaculture Velocity, a podcast, which she hasn't recorded in a while, but it's a really good one to go back to and listen to. And she had a coop built where it was completely rat proof. So everything, is lined with hardware claws and the bottom, and they just can't get in. And, rats are just a problem wherever you go, especially if you have yummy chicken food laying around for them to eat.
Yeah.
And so I do a lot of compost feeding, where I get different things. So I want all of that to be enclosed in an area that all the feed is happening in a space where no critters can go in. Right?
Yeah.
So we finally figured out where we need to place it. And to do that, we had to take out parts of the chicken enclosure. So now they are completely everywhere. Before, only half of the flock was everywhere all the time. I usually would let them out every day to do a round, but now they're just everywhere.
And how many are there again? Just so everybody knows.
So right now I have 14 girls and 1 boy.
Okay.
Because we are only allowed 1 boy. And
well, at least you're allowed 1 boy. Yay! Yeah, some places you can't have one.
Right. But I don't know if I had mentioned that before. We had babies which grew into boys, and so we had a few too many and didn't have the time and different circumstances to take care of them right away. And a neighbor had turned us into animal control. And I was so saddened by that because it's like, knock on my door or at least leave a note. If you're afraid that, I might be one of those angry people.
It's something that we all have an issue with is, I know for me, I very non-confrontational. I don't like to confront people about anything, So
but then give me a note, write me a letter.
Right, right. There's so many things you can do, and by the way, let's all get over that. Let's try to find ways where we can be. You can talk to people about stuff without being, insulting or aggressive, and try to find a solution that you both agree on. Right.
Absolutely. And we were not planning on keeping that many. I mean, they were waking me up because one of them had been roosting right underneath our bedroom window and decided to get off his little alarm crowing 2 in the morning for us every night. So it wasn't like that I enjoyed that situation very much, but there were circumstances which brought the freezer camp activities, a little bit later in the games than I wanted it to be. But that said, so we are working back there and we're dismantling the coop I have right now. And I have a dog, a little min pin. And then I see her go crazy in her corner. And the next thing I know, she's snacking on little baby rats.
Oh, baby rats? She found some baby rats?
She found some baby rats and she's snacking on them.
Wow.
And then I moved another thing and the mommy rat jumped out and she ran after her and got her. And it's so funny because my husband went to the zoo today and he's saying, oh, it's spring break. There are so many people. I'm like, you should have stayed home. There was like National Wildlife National Geographic activities going on right in our backyard.
You've got your own little community nature reserve there, don't you?
I'm telling you. And some of that nature, I mean, I understand that all, beings have a role in the whole world or in the whole system, but rats are not my favorite. I mean, I'm fine with them to be somewhere and a little bit, but not if they come too close to the house and not if they're eating all my fruit or,
And if you have any kind of livestock in your house or in your area, in your backyard, you're going to have to deal with that in some way, shape, or form.
Oh.
We've had the mice, not rats. I've never seen a rat out here. I've just seen little, field mice.
I'm pretty sure they live somewhere. I mean, wherever you go, there are rats.
Yeah, I've just never seen one. I'm just saying. And I haven't seen anything that looks like a rat poop either. I've just seen mouse poop. But they do get into my coop as well. And that's one of our projects for this summer is getting that coop completely critter proof. So that's one thing. But on the topic of chickens, I told you was a week ago that I told you that I had a sick chicken.
Right.
So she had this poopy butt for quite a while, and I had tried to pick her up to kind of clean it off on several occasions, and she just was she's the most skittish one of them all, which doesn't make sense because she's the biggest one too. But I finally got a hold of her, and of course I asked my chicken mentor, Marianne here, and she told me that might be a good idea to separate her from the rest of the flock. So I have a couple of pit bull mixed dogs here, and we have what do you call those kind of cages for them when you're crate training them,
type things.
Right. So I had one in storage that I brought in, and I fixed it all up, put some paper down and everything, and I got her. And first thing I did was soak her to get all that junk off her butt. But then I brought her, dried her off, put her into the cage and everything, and she was not moving. I mean, she was standing, so I knew she was alive, but it was like she was a statue for hours and hours. And when you'd look at her, she'd be sleeping a lot, So I figured out that she's sick. There's something going on, and that's why she had the poopy butt, because she's been having diarrhea for a long, long time. So I just was trying to give her food that she would like, and do all these things, but she wasn't really improving too much. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna just break down. I'm gonna call my vet and see what they say. And they don't look at chickens, but the lady at the front desk actually has her own. So she said she had an issue with one of hers, and she called the feed store down the hill, and she gave me the number, and I called them, and they said, oh, well, do you have any antibiotics? And I happen to have some tetracycline that I just I am not an antibiotic person. I think we've talked about this many times. I avoid them like the plague, but it's good to have something just in case there's an emergency and something happens and you can't get to the doctor, whatever. So, she said, well, just mix it up with some kind of Pedialyte or, that Gatorade kind of stuff.
Some energy stuff.
Yeah, and then feed her a little bit of that with a dropper. And so that's what I've been doing for almost a week now. And she has really come a long way. She's not out of the woods yet, but she is, and she's very picky about what she eats. She's not really eating her seed. She just wants, the thing she loves the most is hard-boiled eggs.
So lots of protein.
It's anything with protein. She'll eat nuts. She'll eat tuna. Anything with protein she'll eat. But greens, forget it. She's not interested. But she's more awake. She looks better. I mean, so I feel like there's improvement there, and I'm hoping within the next few days I can reintroduce her to her little girlfriends again.
And the rest of the flock has been okay. Nobody else has been showing any signs.
Nothing.
Yeah. So I mean, we need to do another chicken show soon too, because it's time to think about deworming them and stuff like that too. Yeah.
Deworming.
But moving on, because we don't want to be here for 5 hours. And I guess it's still somewhat chicken related. I think we have talked before about mixing our own chicken food and so forth. And I order a lot of things from a co-op, which you don't really have access to because you're too far off the beaten path. So, and one of the things we were thinking about is, since we decided to meet on a semi-regular basis, that one thing I can do, Janice could order from the co-op, I can pick it up, and then we can meet and, transfer the goods.
Yeah.
So an order is coming up, so let me know if you want to order some.
Okay. And just to let everybody know, because I think there's other people that might want to do something like that. What is the co-op that you use again, Mariana?
Asher. It's ACURE standard. So I used to pronounce it Azure. And then a friend of mine who I met at the co-op, she kept talking about Asher. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And that's certainly one of my problems, that I see words written, I don't hear them spoken. And so I'm pronouncing them like I would pronounce them in German, I suppose. But yeah, so they actually go quite to a few places, because one friend I met through the co-op here in San Diego moved since to Tennessee, and she has a top there. So it's not California specific, but there are other ways to create buying co-ops, and I strongly want to encourage people to think about that. There are mills here in California as Modesto. I think it's just called Modesto Milling. I'm not sure. But they have a lot of grains, and it's all organic. But to buy from them, you need to buy at least 50 bags worth. And not everybody can do that as an individual. But between, 5 people, you can order 10 bags each. Then it's doable. Yeah. So just to throw it out there as one of the tips we want to share. And so, speaking of tips, so we started some, and we're going to continue this. So right now we're just calling it Sustainable Monday Tips, or a One Tip Monday. And we have been asking just for general tips on what is your tip to make like one step towards sustainability. And we might, mix it up in the future. Maybe it's what can we do to reduce waste, or do this or that, or this and that. And it's so exciting that actually a lot of people had really, really good ideas, and we wanted to share some of those ideas. We won't be able to give a shout out to everybody right now, but we got some responses on Facebook. We got some responses on Instagram. Well, on Facebook, we have a page, Sustainable Living Podcast, right?
That's our page.
And then we have a group. You started it. So What's the name of it?
It's called Sustainable Living Tips, Tools, and Tactics. And it is where we really interact with people and want people to share and contribute. It's a community, basically. And so lots of people are sharing things they find online, things they know about, even things they create themselves, their own blog posts and videos. And we totally welcome that as long as it's about sustainable living in some way. So
right.
The thing that
absolutely,
yeah. So Mariana is talking about. We started this thing. It's one tip Monday is what we're trying to do. So every Monday on Instagram and on our group and on our page, we're trying to get people to share one tip that helps them to live a more sustainable life.
Right. And so I have one on Instagram. So on Instagram, we're called Sustainable Living Podcast as well. So if you're an Instagrammer, I don't know, is there a name for people on Instagram? Insties?
Instagrammer works, I think, yeah.
Anyway, so go ahead and follow us and let us know all your good ideas. And we have Debbie E. Marianne. That's her handle. I think it's a her. I'm assuming it's her name is Debbie, but I don't know since, handles are not always the same as names. And she's saying, reserves the cooking water when steaming cooking vegetables to make stock and avoid unnecessary packaged stock or stock cubes. So I think that's fantastic. And you can, let's say you just have a little bit, you could even freeze it in ice cube trays or have like a jar. How we talked about freezing in straight mason jars. Mm-hmm. That's somewhere. I don't know if you would have to definitely make sure your liquid is also very cool before you add it, but you could add things to it.
I haven't had much luck with freezing in mason jars, just letting you know.
I know. I think we talked about that before. Yeah, I have. And I think it's important that you have them straight and that you keeps the lid off so they can expand. Okay. That's my theory because I have not had any breaks. Great. So, but then freeze them in ice cube trays and just then put them in a container where then you have, your potato water and it might be a little bit tough with like broccoli and stuff because that tends to be really strong. Mm-hmm. But asparagus. I would use that water in the garden for fertilizer, because, or drink it right away as a broccoli soup, like keep a little bit of your steamed veggies and then throw it all in the blender and blend it up. And then you have soups the next day,
wow.
Maybe add a potato to make it more creamy. So
great
I like
idea.
That idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, I have one here from my friend Carol Petrie, who says, shop at thrift stores for clothes. America wastes a large amount of clothing. Turn someone else's clothing into something new by altering or making a quilt. Or who knows?
Yeah. That's very good idea. And I'm actually definitely at a point where, I'm a huge hand-me-down person. I love when people give me hand-me-downs because personally, the clothes I really like, I usually can't afford. So, I really don't want to go to, Marshalls or Kohl's or whatever and spend, even if it's not that much money, but you're getting stuff which is often not produced in a very sustainable way. It's definitely not organic cotton. Yeah. So I pretty much made that commitment. If I buy anything new, I want it to be organic or resourced from, renewable fabrics. Like maybe someday we get hemp fabric even here in the United States and produced in a way that, the workers have good conditions and all of that.
Yes. On that note, I've shared before about my daughter's made a whole side living on going to thrift shops and buying stuff, and then creating her own like little Etsy store where she resells it. And she markets it really well. But another thing that you can do, if you've got more high-end stuff that's not what might be termed fast fashion, that's created like Kohl's or the places that are really cheap and often source a lot of their stuff from kind of sweatshop places. If you are a big fashionista, you may have some designer things. I did an interview with a couple of gals who created a site called Silk Roll. And so you guys will be hearing this interview hopefully very soon. It'll be coming up within when we post this podcast. But basically, they send you a bag. You put your kind of high-end items in it. You estimate what you think they are worth. And then you send it back to them, and they post it up on their site. And then when someone wants it, you get points for everything that is kind of swapped to other people, and then you can get other stuff on the site that maybe suits you better. So another option on those lines.
Yeah, and I don't buy $1,000 outfits, but there is clothes out there, which is a real true investment. And many people which work in the corporate world need to wear that kind of clothing for their daily work. And then maybe their lifestyle changes or their body changes. That happens to us women a lot. Happens to men too. Yeah. But usually, suits are a little bit more forgiving, I think. Well, not if you... Well,
the thing that I always think about is the quality. A lot of the times when you do spend a little more money, and you get something that's going to last you a lot longer. So I'm not a big shopper anymore. I never really was that much, but I am big on purchasing things that I know are going to last. So that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy to buy something and you wash it 5 times and it looks like it's 20 years old. Right. I actually have 20-year-old clothes.
I do too. I do too. Some of my favorite stuff, even.
I know, which is still good.
Yeah.
And in the olden days, you had, your wool skirt and you wore it every winter and it was fine. It just, yeah. So, that's a whole other part we can get into. And it's funny that you mentioned that you interviewed those ladies, because I'm having an interview in a couple of hours with a lady in Australia, and they make underwear and sleepwear out of bamboo and organic cotton and stuff like that. Nice. So it's so encouraging that there are more companies getting that idea that yes, we want that, and really thinking beyond just how can I make some and get the most money from it, but thinking about how does my product affect the customer? How does, think about the whole chain from the beginning. How is the cotton grown, for example, then how is it manufactured and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. And so I'm really looking forward to talking to her.
Yeah.
So I have another one from the Sustainable Steward, Hillary. And she says, bring a reusable water bottle and coffee cup. It's the easiest to stay hydrated, save money, and reduce disposable options. So yay, put it in your, I don't know, have you ever gone to a Renaissance fair?
No, I never have.
Yeah, I used to be a Morris dancer, which is a whole another.
Oh, really?
Fun. And we used to go to Renaissance fairs. And so half of the year we would be dressed in the Morris outfit, which is like white pants and blouse. And then you have like a colorful vest. So Morris dancing is from England, if you're not familiar with that. It was certain areas in England and kind of the border areas, and it's probably more like a fertility dancing. People were dancing when it's time to plant seeds and stuff like that. And a lot of the dancing is done with sticks, so you have these formations and you hit the sticks and you have bells on your legs, so you do a lot of leg movements to have those bells going. It's just a lot of fun, and it's also done with handkerchiefs. So if you ever see like an English film and they're dancers and they have those handkerchiefs, they go like and do all those different
things. Okay, so I gotta get the name here. Did you say Morris? How do you spell this? Morris dance?
Morris.
More like the name Morris. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it has to do with sustainability if you're dancing for rain or whatever. It's just a lot of fun. And we used to go to Renaissance fairs and perform and stuff. But the reason I'm saying it is that it was just part of the costumes that you had a belt with your cup hanging on the belt so you can go and beg for ale and stuff like that. But, people used to do that. You used to bring your own cup and your own everything. And right now I'm part or like on board of this nonprofit organization in San Diego, so California Rare Food Growers. And we're really trying to encourage people, bring your own utensils. And, have been buying some washables because it's amazing how quickly that disposable whatever forks and knives and whatever accumulates. So
that's a big tip. Bring your own utensils. That's a good one too.
So do you have another one from Facebook?
I do. And again, when we talk about sustainable living, we talk about everything, because every aspect of your life can be sustainable, can be more sustainable usually than it is. And we're, from everything to relationships to health. I mean, it isn't always just about bringing your own utensils. Sometimes it's about bringing your own energy and making sure you have enough energy that comes from you. And on that note, my friend Karen Weiser left this tip, which was, my tip is for personal sustainability and is to notice everything in your environment and how it affects your energy. Things that you are tolerating, the stuff that bothers you, steals energy from you. So it's best to clean it up, and get it gone. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, think about how that can be applied. Obviously, the minimalists will resonate with that. Get rid of the clutter in your life. That affects your energy. But I think that can also be extended to, are there people in our lives that are really kind of sucking our energy away from us? And we can love them and forgive them and not, have resentment towards them. But we can do that from a distance, and so that we are making sure that we're trying to spend as much time with people that help us to grow our energy and preserve our energy rather than suck it dry.
Absolutely. I think this is which is sometimes really overlooked and undervalued, how important it is to surround ourselves with people which are lifting us up and not putting us down. And I think especially if you are trying to make changes, and I think a lot of people grew up in quite a throwaway society and let's buy new, and there's still this push that we have to have more and throw it away and get some else. And, there is this whole thing, if you haven't touched some for 6 months, you throw it away or get rid of it and stuff, which is a whole nother subject because I have mixed feelings about that in many ways, But so a lot of people make some really profound changes to move towards sustainability. And I think every time you're different from your immediate environment, you open yourself to criticism and hate and, all kinds of things. And some of it comes from people which probably feel like they should do this too, but they don't want to. So they rather are angry with you. So I think when we want to make those changes, it's super important to find a tribe. I'm not saying only be with people which think like you, because that is a mistake too, but find this tribe to go to get built up and, to find an understanding. Even doesn't even have to be a reinforcement, but you posted some the other day, said, video with a little girl which is dressed like a bee and dances, and everybody thinks she is crazy, and then she finds her tribe and they're all bees, little girls dressed up as bees and they're dancing happily together. So sometimes we just need that encouragement. We need that feeling normal.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's huge. It's huge. It really is true. If you find your tribe, then it does start to help you generate your energy and preserve your energy. You're not always having to defend yourself all the time and show your point of view. But by the same token, I would say that avoiding being judged is a very good sustainable living tip. But also avoiding judging others is another.
Yes.
Is another good sustainable living tip, because we waste so much energy with that. Judgment really does. It can be obviously very detrimental to the people around us, but I think it almost weighs heavier on us than it does on the people that we're judging. It just sucks all of our energy away when we could be using it for so many other things, and especially now, with the world the way it is and how difficult it is right now for many people on this planet, we need to be doing everything we can to raise up our vibration. Because all collectively, when we do that, not only do we help ourselves, but it really does affect the entire world around us.
Absolutely. And I mean, usually if you judge others, they don't know that you're doing it. So
Right.
Often they don't know. But that said, we all judge people, and it's normal. We all have preconceived ideas and so forth. I think it's just being willing to re-examine those judgments and not getting into that place of self-righteousness, like I'm so much better because I'm doing this and you're doing that. But
it also comes down to little things like this. Oh gosh, look at those people, using throwaway utensils,
I mean, people, let's judge them.
those people, and maybe I'm not even saying it. I'm just thinking it, right? That does harm to me. That lowers my vibration. That lowers my energy.
Yeah. So it's probably a more healthy way to say, look how many people are still doing this, and what can we do to make it differently, to make it easy to be different, because there are even laws right now which make it hard for in a public event. Let's say you have a street fair, you cannot serve things on reusable dishes because legally you can't wash them there, and all of that stuff. So there's definitely things we can do on all different levels, but you can bring your own and say, here, give it to me.
Well, yeah, the best thing to do is to be that shining example, and do it without judgment, because the people around you who you are an example to will be more open to you if they're not getting that judging vibe from you. So,
well, I mean, I think we all know that if we feel that judgment coming our ways, it's like resentment. Like resentment, or maybe I should say self-defense coming up, where even so you might agree with that it didn't go the way you wanted to or whatever. If somebody brings it up in a very judgy way, then your first reaction is defending yourself, right? At least for me. Maybe I'm just too...
No, you're right. You're right. Again, it sucks our energy all the way around,
So I'm looking here for Carl and see, and he is on the Facebook. Maybe you find him faster.
You're talking about Kai Sandholm?
Manapu Farms.
Yeah.
So he's actually going to come onto the podcast too, and he posted a whole bunch of tips. So I don't want to go into all of those tips now because I think he's going to share a whole bunch on the podcast. But he managed to reduce all his bills, or to be basically bill free. Wow. And is sharing that with people. So with you all in the future very soon. And so that's very exciting. And, this is something I really love about the podcast, is that we get to know people via social media, or a lot of times people have reached out to us, and we get to meet this really interesting people and find out about this earth moving, world moving. I don't know, if I say earth moving, I'm thinking of a tractor. How I need to go in the garden and move earth, But yeah, really making huge differences in their part of the world and touching so many people. And I just feel so grateful is that we get to talk to, this.
Yes.
I don't want to say amazing too much because it has become such a word which is so overused. So
Well, they are inspiring. And Carl, I believe, came to us through our Sustainable Living Tips, Tools, and Tactics group. And
Right.
he has a blog that he does a lot of blogging, and he's posting and sharing his blog and also commenting on the other posts on our group there. So again, there's a community there, guys, and we really encourage you to join it, because we have things that we share that we know about and that we're learning from other people that we're interviewing, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many other people that have other stuff to share, and you can take advantage of it. You can contact them directly on that group, Sustainable Living Tips, Tools, and Tactics on Facebook.
Right. And it's a safe group because we do monitor it. So if somebody comes in and just wants to sell, or even if somebody wants to just negative vibe people, they're not going to be part of the group.
Right.
We take the liberty to ban anybody who just wants to be a Debbie Downer, so to speak.
Yes.
And I'm not saying don't post, sad things or whatever. I'm just talking about some people get aggressive on social media.
You're talking about trolls.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Wait, this is a no troll zone, so.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Yes, you can't hide under the pressures.
Well, we're almost at the end of our time here, Mariana. Is there anything we need to share? Was there a last tip or anything that you wanted to share before we say goodbye?
Yes, I want to share a couple more things. First of all, our downloads, which is basically how we know how many people are listening to our podcast, are growing and growing and growing. And I just want to express how grateful I am to all of you who are listening or watching this on YouTube, that you are spending this time with us. And yeah, I'm just really grateful about that, and thank you so much for being our listeners.
Yeah, we have so much to be grateful for.
I think that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, well, I will second that, and I would also like to remind everybody that we do have a Patreon account. So we are trying to kind of build things up so that we don't have to spend so much out of our pocket. And maybe at some point we can commit more time to the podcast and maybe start posting more often than just once a week. So if you do feel inclined to support us and make sure that we're going to continue on in the future, please go to Patreon and search for Sustainable Living Podcast. And you can choose however much you want to donate there. It's a situation where you're going to be doing it, on a monthly basis. So we will take donations as small as $1 a month. Every little bit helps. And even, it's kind of like the energy that you put into just doing something like that, I think helps a lot. So even if it's $1, $1 helps, but also it's the energy behind that dollar that really is going to help push us forward, I have no doubt.
But I think one of the things Janice and I have been talking about, that we talk so much about share economy and, different levels of economy, and said people want to support each other and so forth. So it's almost like our little test. We will keep podcasting no matter what, I think, because I do feel that we do enjoy it, and we also both feel that that's one gift we can bring to the world. That's like our contribution to, trying to make this planet or maintain this planet in a way that we and our grandchildren and everybody else can enjoy the beauty and the bounty of it. But it's also nice to feel acknowledged for your work. So that's all. But anyways, thank you for listening. And 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 I totally get that money is not always a possible thing, but you can leave us reviews or come and join the conversation, share with others the podcast. Those are all things which we highly appreciate and love for you to do.
Yeah, in the end, again, I would say that it's the energy behind whatever that you do to support us. We will thrive and grow underneath it. So thank you to all who have already done that. And again, if you feel so inclined, please do support us in any way that you feel appropriate.
Yeah, and we will read your name on the air. Ha!
Yes, that is a big thing. We want to get more and more interaction. And if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a topic you think we should cover, please do let us know. You can email me at Janice at sustainablelivingpodcast.com or Mariana at, you tell it, Mariana.
So it can be Mariana at sustainablelivingpodcast.com, but it's also, I check the sustainablelivingpodcast at gmail.com. So just not but just sustainablelivingpodcast at gmail.com.
Yes.
Quite regularly. So
and you can
either way.
And you can also reach us on Facebook and Twitter and all the normal channels. So with that said, everybody have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you on the next update. Take care.
Yes, take care.
Thanks for joining us on the Sustainable Living Podcast. For more sustainable living tips, join our Facebook group, Sustainable Living Tips, Tools, and Tactics, and follow us on Twitter